Jerry Lewis utterly hated Dean Martin. Now we know the reason why. And it started with one devastating betrayal that allegedly destroyed the most successful comedy partnership in entertainment history, leaving psychological scars that lasted until death. Picture this: America's most beloved comedy duo standing on stage at the legendary Copacabana, delivering their final performance together, while reportedly seething with mutual hatred so intense that neither man could look the other in the eye. One moment they were box office gold, the next they were bitter enemies who wouldn't speak for 20 years. But here's what nobody tells you about the Lewis Martin explosion. It wasn't really about money, fame, or even creative differences. Can you imagine the tension crackling through that packed nightclub on July 24, 1956? The audience reportedly had no idea they were witnessing the end of an era, the death of a partnership that had made more money than any comedy act in history. Some witnesses allegedly described the final bow as watching a funeral disguised as entertainment. What drove Jerry Lewis, the manic comic genius, to such fury that he reportedly spent decades plotting revenge against his former partner? Why did Dean Martin, the cool crooner, allegedly walk away from millions of dollars just to escape their toxic relationship? And what does their feud reveal about the price of fame when ego meets ambition? If you think you know the story of Martin and Lewis, think again. The real reason behind their hatred goes deeper than professional jealousy. It allegedly involves family secrets, career sabotage, and a betrayal so profound that it changed both men forever. Hit that subscribe button because this tale of comedy's greatest breakup gets darker and more twisted than Hollywood ever admitted. Who was Jerry Lewis? Before Jerry Lewis became the king of physical comedy, he was Jerome Levitch, a desperately lonely child in Newark, New Jersey, who learned early that being funny was the only way to survive in a world that seemed determined to crush him. Born March 16, 1926, young Jerry discovered that laughter was both his greatest weapon and his most dangerous addiction. The Levitch household was reportedly a battlefield disguised as a show business family. Jerry's father, Daniel Levitch, performed under the stage name Danny Lewis, touring the vaudeville circuit as a second-tier entertainer who allegedly brought his professional disappointments home every night. His mother, Rachel, was a former pianist who reportedly sacrificed her own career dreams to support Daniel's failing ambitions, creating a household atmosphere thick with resentment and unfulfilled potential. But here's the crucial detail that shaped Jerry's entire psychology. He was essentially raised by his grandmother while his parents chased elusive stardom on the road. Young Jerry allegedly spent months at a time without seeing his parents, left with a woman who loved him but couldn't fill the emotional void left by absent parents. The abandonment reportedly created a psychological wound that would drive Lewis to increasingly desperate attempts to win love and attention for the rest of his life. Friends from Jerry's childhood in Newark describe a boy who was simultaneously brilliant and damaged, capable of making adults laugh until they cried while privately suffering from what would later be recognized as severe anxiety and depression. One neighbor allegedly recalled finding 8-year-old Jerry performing elaborate comedy routines for an audience of stray cats, perfecting his craft even when no humans were watching. The loneliness allegedly drove Jerry to develop multiple personalities, not in a clinical sense, but as a survival mechanism. He reportedly created dozens of characters, each designed to get attention from different types of people. Teachers, neighbors, fellow students. Jerry allegedly had a different persona for each audience, studying their reactions like a scientist studying lab rats. At Irvington High School, Jerry was reportedly the class clown who took things too far, then took them even further. Teachers remember a student who could disrupt an entire classroom with a single facial expression, then charm his way out of punishment with elaborate apologies that were somehow more entertaining than his original infractions. But Jerry's desperation for attention allegedly had a dark side. Classmates reported that he would do anything, literally anything, to get a laugh, including dangerous stunts that sometimes resulted in serious injuries. One former classmate recalled Jerry allegedly jumping off the school roof during lunch period, breaking his arm but continuing to perform comedy bits while waiting for the ambulance. The pattern was established early and would define Jerry's entire career. He would sacrifice his body, his dignity, and eventually his relationships for the chance to hear people laugh. The applause reportedly became more important than his own well-being, creating an addiction that would eventually destroy the most important friendship of his life. After barely graduating high school, allegedly due to his inability to focus on anything that didn't involve performing, Jerry threw himself into show business with manic intensity. He reportedly worked every possible venue: birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, strip clubs, amateur nights at third-rate theaters. The rejection was constant and crushing, but Jerry allegedly viewed each failure as a learning experience, studying successful performers with the intensity of a graduate student. During this period, Jerry reportedly developed his signature style, the manic, childlike persona that would make him famous. But colleagues from those early days describe a performer who was almost frighteningly intense off stage, someone who never seemed to stop performing even in private conversations. The line between Jerry Lewis the performer and Jerome Levitch the person reportedly became so blurred that even Jerry himself wasn't sure where one ended and the other began. In 1944, Jerry married Patty Palmer, a former band singer who allegedly became both his anchor and his enabler. Patty reportedly recognized Jerry's genius, but also saw the psychological damage underneath, spending their early marriage trying to provide the stability and unconditional love that Jerry had never received as a child. But even Patty allegedly couldn't fill the emotional void that drove Jerry to seek validation from strangers. The couple's early years were reportedly marked by Jerry's obsessive work schedule and his inability to relax even at home. Patty allegedly described coming home to find Jerry practicing comedy routines in front of their bedroom mirror, sometimes for hours at a time, perfecting gestures and expressions that might win him an extra laugh on stage. By 1946, Jerry had established himself as a competent solo performer in the Catskills, but he reportedly knew he needed something more, a spark that would elevate him from working comic to genuine star. He allegedly spent countless hours studying the great comedy partnerships: Abbott and Costello, Burns and Allen, Laurel and Hardy. The pattern was clear. Two performers could create magic that neither could achieve alone. What Jerry couldn't have known was that his perfect partner was already performing in the same clubs, a smooth crooner from Ohio who seemed to possess everything Jerry lacked: natural charisma, effortless cool, and the kind of masculine confidence that made both men and women swoon. The meeting that would change both their lives allegedly happened at the Glass Hat Club in New York City, but the circumstances were far from romantic. Jerry was reportedly bombing on stage, his manic energy falling flat with a sophisticated Manhattan audience, when a tall, dark-haired singer in the audience allegedly started heckling him with perfectly timed insults that were funnier than Jerry's prepared material. Instead of being offended, Jerry reportedly recognized genius when he heard it. The heckler was Dean Martin, and within minutes of their first interaction, Jerry allegedly knew he'd found his missing piece. But what he didn't realize was that he'd also found the man who would eventually break his heart in the most public way possible. The early days of their partnership were reportedly magical for Jerry. Finally, he had found someone who not only understood his comedy, but could enhance it with natural timing and effortless charm. Dean allegedly provided the stability and confidence that Jerry had been seeking his entire life, becoming not just a performing partner, but a surrogate father figure and best friend. But Jerry's psychological makeup allegedly made him incapable of healthy relationships. His desperate need for approval and control reportedly began to manifest in increasingly demanding behavior toward Dean. What started as creative collaboration allegedly became emotional dependency, with Jerry viewing Dean not as an equal partner, but as a possession. Someone who existed to validate Jerry's genius and provide the unconditional love he'd never received as a child. Former associates from their early years described Jerry as almost stalker-like in his devotion to Dean, allegedly following him around like a puppy and becoming visibly upset when Dean socialized with other people. The dynamic reportedly worked initially because Dean was naturally easygoing and didn't mind Jerry's intensity, but seeds of future conflict were already being planted. Jerry's perfectionism allegedly began to drive Dean crazy. While Dean was content to show up, do the act, and go home, Jerry reportedly wanted to rehearse constantly. analyze every gesture and perfect every timing beat. The different approaches to their craft allegedly created a tension that would eventually explode into mutual hatred. By the early 1950s, Martin and Lewis had become the biggest comedy act in America, but Jerry reportedly wasn't satisfied. He allegedly began pushing for more control over their career decisions, their material, and even Dean's personal life. The partnership that had saved Jerry from obscurity was reportedly becoming a prison for both men, with Jerry as the increasingly demanding warden. What Jerry didn't understand was that his desperate need to control everything was slowly destroying the very relationship he treasured most. His love for Dean allegedly became so possessive and intense that it began to resemble stalking more than friendship. The stage was set for one of entertainment history's most devastating breakups. Jerry had found his perfect partner, but his psychological damage reportedly made it impossible for him to maintain the relationship without eventually destroying it. The tragedy was that Jerry allegedly knew what was happening but couldn't stop himself. His need for control and validation was stronger than his love for Dean. But beneath that manic smile, one betrayal was carved in poison ink. Dean Martin's alleged decision to choose his own happiness over Jerry's desperate need to be loved. Incident number 1. The Crack in the Facade, Atlantic City, 1954, the 500 Club. Martin and Lewis were at the height of their popularity, but backstage reportedly told a different story. Jerry allegedly discovered Dean in his dressing room, on the phone with MCA agent Herman Citron, discussing solo career opportunities that had never been mentioned to Jerry. The conversation Jerry allegedly overheard was devastating. Dean reportedly telling Citron that he was tired of playing second fiddle to a monkey and wanted to explore dramatic acting roles that would establish him as a serious performer. The words allegedly hit Jerry like a physical blow, shattering his belief that their partnership was as sacred to Dean as it was to him. Jerry reportedly confronted Dean immediately, but the conversation allegedly escalated when Dean didn't deny the phone call or apologize for the monkey comment. Instead, Dean allegedly told Jerry that he had the right to explore his own career options and that Jerry was being possessive and unrealistic. The incident reportedly marked the beginning of the end, planting seeds of suspicion and hurt that would grow into full-blown hatred over the next 2 years. Incident number 2. The movie Betrayal, Hollywood, 1955. During the filming of Artists and Models, Jerry allegedly discovered that Dean had been secretly meeting with Paramount executives about solo film deals. The betrayal reportedly went deeper than just career ambition. Dean had allegedly been discussing ways to structure future contracts that would gradually phase Jerry out of their partnership. When Jerry confronted Dean about the secret meetings, Dean reportedly responded with cold indifference. "I'm not your property, Jerry. I can take meetings with whoever I want." The comment allegedly revealed the fundamental difference in how each man viewed their relationship. Jerry saw it as a marriage, Dean saw it as a business arrangement. Jerry reportedly became so upset that he allegedly locked himself in his dressing room for 6 hours, refusing to come out until Dean agreed to sign a loyalty pledge promising not to take any meetings without Jerry present. Dean allegedly signed the document, but was reportedly overheard telling director Frank Tashlin that Jerry was losing his mind. Incident number 3. The family fracture. The personal nature of their conflict allegedly became clear during a 1955 family gathering where both men's wives were present. Jerry reportedly announced that he was buying a house next door to Dean's Beverly Hills mansion, so their families could be closer than ever. Dean's wife, Jean, reportedly objected to the plan, saying that the families needed some privacy and independence. Jerry allegedly responded by accusing Jean of trying to break up the partnership and reportedly told Dean that he had to choose between his wife's comfort and their professional relationship. The ultimatum reportedly backfired spectacularly. Dean allegedly told Jerry that no one, not even his best friend, could dictate his family's living arrangements. The argument reportedly escalated until Dean allegedly said the words that would haunt Jerry for decades. "You're not my brother, Jerry, you're my business partner. There's a difference." Jerry reportedly left the gathering in tears, but the damage was done. The incident allegedly convinced Dean that Jerry's obsession with their partnership had become unhealthy and possibly dangerous. Incident number 4. The control freak exposed. By 1956, Jerry's need to control every aspect of their career had reportedly reached pathological levels. During negotiations for their television variety show, Jerry allegedly demanded that all contracts go through him first, that Dean's salary be lower than his own, and that Jerry have final approval over Dean's wardrobe, song selections, and even his romantic interest for publicity purposes. Dean reportedly exploded when he learned about Jerry's demands. "Who the hell do you think you are? You're not my manager, you're not my father, and you're sure as hell not my boss." The confrontation allegedly took place in front of network executives, making it impossible for either man to pretend their relationship was still functional. Jerry allegedly responded by threatening to quit the partnership if Dean didn't agree to his terms. It was reportedly the first time Jerry had ever used their professional relationship as leverage in a personal argument, and Dean allegedly never forgave him for it. The incident reportedly convinced Dean that Jerry viewed him not as a partner, but as a possession to be controlled and manipulated. Incident number 5. The final betrayal. The end came on July 24, 1956 at the Copacabana in New York City. What the audience didn't know was that Jerry had allegedly spent the entire day trying to convince Dean to sign a new 10-year contract that would have given Jerry unprecedented control over both their careers. Dean reportedly refused to sign, leading to a backstage confrontation that witnesses described as vicious and heartbreaking. Jerry allegedly accused Dean of being ungrateful, of forgetting who had made him a star, and of planning to abandon their partnership for the cheap thrill of a solo career. Dean's response was reportedly devastating in its simplicity. "I'm not abandoning anything, Jerry. I'm saving myself." The comment allegedly revealed that Dean viewed their partnership not as a creative collaboration, but as an emotional prison that Jerry had constructed around both of them. The final performance reportedly went off without a hitch, but witnesses say the hatred between them was palpable. During their closing bow, Jerry allegedly whispered to Dean, "You'll never be anything without me." Dean reportedly responded, "Watch me." They never spoke again. Incident number 6. The decades of silence. The aftermath of their breakup reportedly became one of Hollywood's most bitter and long-lasting feuds. Both men allegedly refused to speak each other's names in interviews, despite being asked about their former partnership constantly. Jerry reportedly became obsessed with proving that Dean needed him more than he needed Dean, while Dean allegedly went out of his way to demonstrate his independence and success. The hatred reportedly affected both men's families, with their children allegedly being forbidden from socializing with each other despite having grown up together. Jerry's obsession with the breakup allegedly consumed him for years, with friends reporting that he would spend hours analyzing Dean's career moves and looking for signs that Dean was failing without him. When Dean joined the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra, Jerry reportedly viewed it as a personal betrayal. Dean had found new friends and was happy without him. The success of Dean's solo career allegedly drove Jerry to even greater extremes of bitterness and resentment. Who was Dean Martin? Before he became the epitome of cool sophistication, Dean Martin was Dino Paul Crocetti, the son of Italian immigrants in Steubenville, Ohio. Born June 7, 1917, into a working-class family that valued hard work and emotional restraint, Dean reportedly learned early that charm was more effective than drama, and that sometimes the best way to handle conflict was to walk away. Dean's upbringing was allegedly the opposite of Jerry's neurotic household. The Crocetti family reportedly emphasized loyalty, respect, and the importance of maintaining dignity even in difficult circumstances. Dean's father, Gaetano Crocetti, was a barber who allegedly taught his son that a man's word was his bond, and that family came before everything else, including business partnerships. Unlike Jerry's desperate need for attention, Dean reportedly possessed natural charisma that drew people to him without effort. Friends from his early days in Steubenville describe a young man who was effortlessly popular, comfortable in his own skin, and able to make others feel at ease just by being present. Dean's entry into show business was reportedly more accidental than planned. After dropping out of high school and working various jobs, including a stint as a casino dealer, Dean began singing in local clubs more for the easy money than from any burning artistic ambition. His natural talent and easy stage presence quickly made him a local favorite, but Dean allegedly never developed the desperate hunger for stardom that would later drive Jerry to such extremes. When Dean met Jerry in 1946, he reportedly saw their partnership as a good career move rather than a life-changing relationship. Dean's more relaxed approach to their collaboration allegedly provided the perfect counterbalance to Jerry's manic energy, but he never shared Jerry's view of their partnership as a sacred bond that transcended normal professional relationships. Dean's family-first mentality reportedly made him increasingly uncomfortable with Jerry's possessive behavior. Where Jerry wanted to spend every waking moment together, Dean allegedly needed space for his wife, his children, and his own personal interests. The growing tension between Jerry's needs and Dean's boundaries reportedly created the friction that would eventually destroy their partnership. The Martin and Lewis breakup reportedly remains one of entertainment history's most tragic examples of how personal psychology can destroy professional success. Both men achieved significant solo careers. Jerry became a beloved filmmaker and comedian, while Dean found success as a singer, actor, and member of the Rat Pack. But neither reportedly ever recaptured the magic they had created together. The feud allegedly lasted until Dean's death in 1995, with both men reportedly taking their hurt and anger to their graves. Jerry's attempts at reconciliation were reportedly met with polite but firm rejection from Dean, who had apparently decided that some relationships were too toxic to repair, regardless of their shared history. In his later years, Jerry reportedly expressed regret about the breakup, admitting in interviews that his need for control had probably driven Dean away. But even these admissions allegedly came with qualifications and justifications that suggested Jerry never fully understood how his behavior had affected Dean. The real tragedy may be what the entertainment world lost when these two talents couldn't find a way to work together as equals rather than as controller and controlled. Their partnership reportedly represented the perfect fusion of manic energy and cool sophistication, but Jerry's psychological damage allegedly made it impossible for him to maintain the relationship without trying to possess it completely. The Martin and Lewis feud reportedly serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing personal psychology with professional partnerships. It suggests that sometimes the very qualities that make someone a brilliant performer, obsession, perfectionism, the desperate need for validation, can also make them incapable of maintaining healthy relationships with other creative people. Perhaps most sadly, both men reportedly spent decades defining themselves in opposition to each other rather than finding ways to honor what they had created together. The partnership that had brought joy to millions of people became a source of lifelong pain for its creators, a reminder that even the most successful collaborations can be destroyed by unresolved personal issues. Their story reportedly continues to influence how the entertainment industry approaches creative partnerships, serving as a warning about the importance of maintaining professional boundaries and the dangers of allowing personal needs to override collaborative relationships. So who was right in this heartbreaking breakup? Team Jerry, the comic genius whose desperate need for love destroyed his most important relationship, or Team Dean, the cool professional who allegedly chose his own happiness over his partner's emotional needs? This isn't just about two entertainers. It's about the fundamental question of whether we owe our friends and partners complete loyalty, even when that loyalty becomes emotionally destructive. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Jerry's behavior was understandable given his childhood trauma, or was Dean right to walk away when the relationship became unhealthy? And here's the big question: could this legendary partnership have been saved if both men had handled things differently? If you're fascinated by the psychology behind Hollywood's biggest feuds, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Tomorrow's video dives into another devastating celebrity breakup that makes this one look like a friendly disagreement. Trust me, you won't believe how far two former friends were willing to go to destroy each other's careers.